Yo, what's up, guys? We're back for another breakdown and predictions. And this week we've got UFC Vegas 110. It's going to be headlined by Steve Garcia and David Onama. And I know a lot of people are hating on the main event, but I actually really like the main event. It's hard to break through when you don't really have that dynamic personality outside the cage like Onama and Steve Garcia. But they put in enough work, man, and they're action fighters. So I think 5 rounds is going to be fun between those two, and they deserve it. So good card all the way through. And hit the like button, put a comment down below, and let's get right into it, guys. First fight, we got Talita Alencar. She's going to be taking on Ariane Carnelossi. And good fight here. I think that Alencar, 2-1 in the UFC, but still needs to build momentum. She won her debut in the UFC via split decision, and most people felt like that fight was a robbery. She then fought Stephanie Luciano, who she had a draw with on Contender Series, and lost the rematch via decision. But she bounced back and looked good over Vanessa Demopoulos in April. Pretty dominant win for her. She even got a 30-26 on one card. 35 years old, so Alencar needs to put some wins together and have a big performance because her fourth fight of her UFC contract, I think it might be her final fight on her contract here. And for Ariane Carnelossi, strange UFC run, 3-2, but she's been super inactive. Her first UFC fight was over 6 years ago, and from 2019 to 2022, she fought 4 times. She went 2-2, but her wins were over fighters with a combined UFC record of 0-9. And then her losses, to be fair, were against top 15 fighters with Lupe Godinez, Angela Hill. Her last fight, she kind of just got lucky to get the win because Piera Rodriguez was dominating her. But for whatever reason, she decided to throw headbutts and got DQ'd. So on paper, Carnelossi won, but in reality, she kind of got dominated. And it's been over a year and a half since she's fought, so another layoff for her. When she entered the UFC, she was 26. Now she's 33, so getting towards the end of her career. And she does have a lot of experience in comparison to Talita. She's been fighting since 2014, and she's been in there with some high-level fighters, so she has that going for her. But style-wise, they kind of have the same frame. Alencar's 5'1", Carnelossi 5'2", both kind of short, muscled-up fighters. Carnelossi does have a 3-inch reach edge, but Carnelossi's a brawler. She wants to just come forward. I don't think the length is really going to matter here. She's going to be trying to throw blind punches with mean intention. She misses a lot, but she's willing to just put a lot of offense out there and see if it gets scored by the judges. And if she lands, she is throwing pretty hard. And there's no feeling out process with Carnelossi. She comes forward just winging punches right away. She'll try to make fights ugly. She'll put you on the cage, go for takedowns, dirty box. She does slow down a little bit after heavy clinching, but she's able to get second wins. And if you fatigue, she can finish you. She basically just looks to pressure, wait for fighters to counter, and then kind of just look for her own counters or look to push you against the cage. And a lot of her finishes have come later in fights, like round 2, round 3. She's also a black belt, but she's good on top, not good on bottom. And when she fights an opponent who's able to out-wrestle her, she has a lot of issues. Lupe Godinez was super dominant when they fought each other. Carnelossi was just kind of trying to hit the half-guard sweeps and play jiu-jitsu, and she stayed tough but just kind of got mauled. And her last fight, she was also getting taken down. So in this fight, she has to do everything she can to keep it standing or be the fighter on top. And for Talita Alencar on the feet, I think she will be able to hold her own. But on the ground, I don't know if Carnelossi will be able to match it like Talita can on the feet. So I was honestly fairly impressed with Alencar, her improvements in short order on the feet. She isn't a great striker or anything, but she's gotten a lot smoother, more comfortable, and she at least has some attacks she goes to off the back foot now, like the left hook. She'll throw kicks. And in this fight, I actually think the head kick actually has a chance at landing, especially if she drills a front kick. But her last fight, her striking looked better. She showed off wrestling, grappling as well, which is obviously once she wants to do in every fight. And she is good wrestling against the fence. She has a good single leg. I really like how she'll get the front headlock and snap fighters down. She looks really strong. And she was able to nullify everything Vanessa Demopoulos tried to throw up off of her back. And Demopoulos is a good jiu-jitsu girl, so she definitely is good at stuffing the submissions from the top position. And I think a lot of people are going to be sour on jiu-jitsu fighters because of Jacqueline Amorim's fight last weekend, but I think Alencar is actually a better fighter than Amorim. Amorim is younger, she has a better frame, more athletic, but Toledo is not a quitter like Amorim is, and she has better cardio. She's actually working on her stand-up. She has solid ground and pound, so if Alencar gets on top, she's not going to give up that top position. She's extremely heavy. She has her go-to submissions, but I think her submission game isn't as dangerous. She's going to have to rely more on ground and pound pressure. And I think that Alencar has a chance to make a run here if she's match made correctly. She isn't going to make it to the top of the division because she's old, too small. But I think that this should be an easy win for her if she can avoid just getting compromised by some power shots. She needs to be smart so she doesn't tire herself out. But I think she should be able to compete on the feet, just be confident in your striking, and then time the takedowns, get on top, and win the fight. So give me Alencar to win this one, I'll say via decision. And continuing on, we got Phil Rowe versus Seokyeon Ko in this second fight of the night. And interesting fight, difficult fight to predict for me here. I'm always having trouble with the Phil Rowe fights. I feel like he's one of these guys that he looks really bad in certain portions of his fights, but he has the heart to stick in it, and then he's dangerous and can find finishes. So even if you don't think he's the greatest fighter and he doesn't put it all together the best over 15 minutes, that's why he's never won a decision in the UFC. If you give him an opportunity, he can capitalize on it and finish you. And he's a veteran. He's had a lot of fights. So he's dangerous. The thing about him as well is he's so big for the weight class. He has that 80-inch reach. He's going to have almost a 10-inch reach advantage in this fight, which that's pretty significant. You have to mention that one. That's a huge reach advantage. But Ko looked good in his last fight. He came in. He was an underdog against Oban Elliott, who was kind of on a pretty good run. And he was too fast for Elliott on the feet. He was pressuring him, made Elliott uncomfortable with his ability to move in and out, and I think Elliott didn't want to get in that exchange with him, so he was trying to clinch him, and from there, Ko just showed that his judo was better than Elliott's, and he has a good judo background. He was able to just sweep him, hit throws, put him on his back, and basically just out-wrestled him and controlled him for the whole fight. So good win for Ko there, but in this one, Phil Rowe, I don't think is going to be looking to grab like that and as worried about exchanging in the pocket. So the thing with Ko is his striking is good. I feel like he's dangerous. He's good at kind of that low stance. He's able to read things with his eyes. He has great in and out movement, good pulls, and he's just looking to pull counter you with the speed, be really aggressive, and force you into a mistake where you grab him and he can put you on his back or he can knock you out. And he is good with the conditioning. He also fought someone, Igor Cavalcanti, on the Contender Series, who has a really long frame like Phil Rowe, and he was able to do pretty well in the stand-up. So he's seen someone like Phil Rowe before, but I don't think that Cavalcanti brings the same boxing and danger factor that Phil Rowe does. And I do think that Phil Rowe has a decent chance to get the knockout here. And I'm going to lean towards Phil Rowe here. Initially, I was going with Ko, but I'm going to say Phil Rowe late round knockout. I could see Ko slowing down a little bit. Phil Rowe not engaging in that clinch battle, and I think Ko will oblige him in a brawl, and I think Phil Rowe eventually is going to land a big shot and hurt him, get him out of there. I just feel like Ko is a little too reckless, confident, and he's going to give Phil Rowe the openings to put him out. So leaning with the veteran there in the second fight of the night, Phil Rowe, but I think that's a difficult one to predict there. And next fight, we got Elise Ardeline. She's taking on Montserrat Ruiz. So, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think Ruiz was even in the UFC anymore. She hasn't fought in a long time. And when she did fight, she was always a huge underdog and not that impressive. But the UFC is giving her another shot here against Ardeline, who has been an overachiever in the UFC. I think when she signed, a lot of people were kind of wondering why she got this opportunity, because she has a bad record and she was a little older. There wasn't really, like, outside of the cage stuff, it wasn't a big reason to sign her. But she's gotten a couple wins in the UFC now. She's looked decent, and she's a favorite here to pick up another W against Ruiz. And I think this fight's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, on the feet, Ardeline, I think, is going to have a pretty significant advantage. Ruiz is tough, and I mean, maybe if during the layoffs she's gotten better with their striking, we'll see that, but you can't really say it without seeing it, and Ruiz's striking is a means to an end from the last fights that we saw, where she just doesn't have power, and she doesn't really have great hands or anything like that. She's tough. She'll hang in there, but I think Ardeline will be just way better on the feet, throw more numbers, smoother, more power. And with Ruiz, the one thing that she's really good at is that head and arm throw. And we saw her beat Cheyenne Bays with that head and arm throw pretty much whole fight. She just hit it over and over and controlled her from that scarf hold position. So for Elise Ardeline, she just has to know that she's going to have to defend a head and arm throw in this fight. And if she could do that, she's probably going to win. So you'd think that she's going to be ready for that and get this W. She trains with a lot of fighters that do have good throws and stuff like that. Like, she's trained with the Alliance girls for a while, I believe. And I just feel like she's been more active. She's probably more confident here and is definitely going to be the one that does more damage. So unless she just goes out here and has a really flat performance, or she lets Ruiz just control her the entire fight, she should win here. But, I mean, when you're looking at her as like a minus 300 favorite in a UFC fight, I think it's hard to, justify betting on her or anything. But moving on to a better fight with Ketlen Vieira and Norma Dumont. Another female fight, but a lot more high level, with the winner of this fight potentially being next in line for a title shot. If it's Norma Dumont, I just really don't know how you don't give her a title fight with another win. I mean, they've been screwing this lady over for a while, man. I mean, 145, they had her up there kind of in no woman's land. She's just like getting these wins, being the dominant 145er without a champion, even though there was a champion, I guess, in Nunes, but she was never going to go back up and defend that belt, and then pretty much they've closed that division at this point. So Norma had to come back down to 135, and she's gotten some big wins at 35 as well. She beat GDR, former champion. She's coming off a solid win in her last fight where she beat Irene Aldana and pretty much dominated that fight. Really busted open Aldana really badly. And now they're giving her another tough task here with Ketlen Vieira, who Ketlen, I think, honestly is in the best moment of her career right now. She's someone that had a lot of hype when she came into the UFC. She was able to beat some really established girls early in her career, but had that layoff and came back, got knocked out by Aldana, and lost a close decision in, I believe, to Holly Holm or something like that. If I'm misremembering it, it was to someone else. But she had a couple bad losses, but she had a good fight versus Kayla Harrison where she won a round in that fight. She was very motivated, competitive. And then she pretty much dominated Macy Chiasson in her last fight, and that was a good victory for her. So she's looking to bring that momentum into this one. And with these two girls, I think it's pretty obvious what they're both going to do. On the feet, it's Norma Dumont all day, in my opinion. Ketlen has power. She could land on Norma later in the fight, especially if she can get her tired with grappling. But when they're both fresh, and if this was just a kickboxing fight, Dumont just has way better footwork. She's able to move and pull fighters into power shots. And even though she doesn't really have that killer instinct to go for the knockout, she definitely has pop in her hands. She has good kicks as well. And when you hit her, she's coming right back with offense. And she's very confident right now. She's fighting with the edge about her. And her last fight with Irene Aldana, I mean, that kind of told the story. She's fighting another girl that is a very high-level striker. And there was no fear of the takedown in that one. So Norma was able to open up a little bit more, and she really showed levels on the feet and was very offensive, threw a lot of leg kicks, threw a lot of body kicks, threw a lot of punches, and was just able to pretty much wipe the floor with Aldana in a pure striking fight. So Vieira is going to bring the pressure. She's going to be looking to land the counters, but if Norma lands first and is able to get out of there without letting Vieira grab her or land a counter, she's going to be able to control the striking all day. So it's pot shots, jabs, footwork for Norma in this fight, and anti-grappling. When Catlin tries to initiate the clinch, push off, don't engage in that. When Catlin goes for takedowns, fight hard to deny it. And if you do get put on the cage or on your back, try to get back up to your feet as quickly as possible and get back into space. So that's the game plan for Norma to me. And for Catlin Vieira, she has to make it ugly. She has to put Norma in the clinch, put her on the cage, bully her, try to get takedowns, get the back, get Norma tired with the pressure, and more wrestling, grappling. Vieira is definitely better in that area. You see Norma as a black belt, and she's big, strong, but she's been putting her back and showed, some bad moments in the grappling against fighters that I don't think are at the same level as Catlin Vieira. So that's why it's a close fight on paper, but I'm leaning more towards Norma Dumont here. I just feel like she's going to have the game plan to get the win here. She's on a good run. She is very confident and motivated at the moment. And I could see her drop in the third round if she gets a little tired, but I think she will be able to at least bag a couple rounds in this fight and get this victory. So I'm going to go with Norma Dumont to win the fight there. And next matchup we got on the card, Dante Johnson taking on Cedricus Dumas, and really interesting debut for Dante Johnson here. I'm excited to see what he could do in the UFC. Came into his fight on Contender Series. It was at heavyweight. He blitzed through his opponent, got a knockout win, and now he's coming all the way down to 185. So he was 209 for his heavyweight fight, so obviously he was a very small guy for that weight division. And it didn't seem like he's going to have too much of a rough cut for 185. So I think he'll be able to make the weight and do it in a healthy way. And hopefully he can bring that power and still be able to be explosive and fast for, smaller, more skilled guys. And they're giving him a guy that's just had a lot of bad luck recently with Cedricus Dumas, where he hasn't gotten a win in a while. He's had a couple really odd performances in the UFC where one, he got poked in the eye and then he got finished. And then his last fight, he got nutshotted. It was a no contest. And then, all the shit outside the cage with Dumas, getting arrested and everything like that, having no money. So, yeah, it's one where you'd think that Dante Johnson is going to go out there and dust him. I think that's what the UFC wants. They want Dante Johnson to get a quick knockout, put it on the highlight reel, and then see how much he can progress or how quickly he can progress from there. But, Dumas brings a dynamic where he is a decent striker. He might be able to land a big kick or something like that. But if you pressure Dumas and throw big power, he doesn't react well. I feel like he's a bit of a quitter. I don't see him being able to take down and out-wrestle Dante Johnson. Johnson does have a wrestling background as well, and he's beaten a lot better wrestlers than Cedric Dumas and bigger wrestlers. So I feel as if Dante more than likely will get this early knockout. But yeah, I'm curious to see how this fight goes. I'm really interested because I think it is a potential fight where maybe Johnson can get exposed, but I do feel like he is the real deal. So we're going to find out, but I do think that more than likely Dante Johnson gets this first round KO, in my opinion. And we got a really good fight in this next one. Timmy Kwamba, he's going to be taking on Chang Ho Lee. And I like Kwamba. I feel like people don't like this guy. I don't really understand why. He's coming down to 135 for the first time, and he's fought as high as 155 in the UFC against a good fighter in Belogi, and it was a competitive fight. So I think that 135, if he could put it together, he's a young guy, he's 26, he could make a run. And on the feet, the gap between these two is pretty massive. But Chang Ho Lee, he wants to call himself the Korean Marab, and he's definitely a really tough guy, good grappler. He won the Road to UFC tournament, and then he won his UFC debut. So he's on a nice little run with momentum right now, and he's looking to defend the bantamweight division from a newcomer here and, show that small man skill, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, Kwamba on the feet, extremely fast, sharp, great variety, pulls you into big shots. He struggled when he was up a weight class with fighters who were really fast and were able to, eat a shot and then come with their own counters. But I don't think Lee has that capability. On the feet, Lee is just a brawler, heavy shots to get inside, clinching, and he leaves a lot of openings for you to land. He really is just pressuring a grab, and he has a chin, but Kwamba's going to be lining him up, pot-shotting him. I think the head kicks, the knees are going to be there against a guy that dips his head often for Kwamba. And Lee is a dog, so even if he's getting beat up, he is going to try to wear the damage. And when he gets on top, he is nasty. Kwamba's shown he's very difficult to hold or take down against the cage, though. And I think he can get off the fence with the clinch exchanges here, or at least be competitive versus Lee and not just get controlled for the majority of the fight. And Kwamba just doesn't need to get sucked into that style of fighting, though. Don't try to take down Lee. Don't try to, jockey with him against the fence. When you get put on the cage, circle off as quickly as possible. Avoid being on bottom at all costs. And Kwamba's usually very high volume. He has good cardio, so I think that he can't afford to slow down, but I think he's going to come in shape. And for Lee, 6 finishes in round 2 or round 3, so he's looking to extend the fight and then get the job done later. And honestly, if Kwamba doesn't wear down, though, I think he's going to be able to keep it standing. I felt like Zhang Lao actually won the fight versus Lee. He defended almost all the takedowns. And Cordavius Romeus was actually out wrestling Lee, but he just kept trying to jump on the back and he lost position. Just horrendous fight IQ. So if Kwamba does end up on his back, he is going to be in trouble because Lee's a savage. But getting it to the mat, I think, is going to be an issue for Lee. Kwamba is a fighter who's very composed. He can sometimes let fighters off the hook when he hurts them because he's patient, but in this matchup, that's good because he's not going to get excited if he lands on Lee and give up an easy takedown. I don't think he's going to overextend and get super wild. And I think Kwamba is really good at kind of getting the read. So if Lee keeps entering the same way, Kwamba could set up a knee, set up a kick, and potentially put him out of there. He has multiple one-shot knockouts. So I think that for Lee, he should look the leg kick, get Kwamba stationary, and then embrace the grind from there. But for Kwamba, it's just footwork, getting your reads, pulling Lee into dangerous weapons, beating him up, and just staying off your back. And if you do that, I think you'll cruise to victory. And I feel like Kwamba should be a bigger favorite than he is. So I like Jimmy Kwamba this week, and I think he'll be able to beat Chang Ho Lee there. And next fight we got on the card, super low level fight, man. I mean, Billy Elakina taking on Kevin Christian. And I am happy about my bet on Billy Elakina in his last fight. He was a pretty major underdog, and he was able to go in there and get the upset victory. He avoided getting knocked out and kind of did what he had to do in a really boring, low-level fight, but he got the victory. And then Kevin Christian, this guy is a huge fighter, like super tall, but just looks extremely raw. I mean, he's dangerous. He has good finishing ability, but really rough for a large portions of a lot of his fights. He just isn't doing much, super flat-footed. So, tough fight, man. I mean, Christian on the feet, he's dangerous because he'll get super aggressive, and because of his length, he'll just walk you down. He'll throw long punches, and his defense is terrible. I mean, he's just pulling back, but because he's so long, sometimes you can miss him, and then he'll return with big power, hurt you, have you on the back foot, kind of stay on you, and then find that finish. So his length and his aggressiveness do make him fairly dangerous on the feet, but leaves a ton of openings. If you're able to move, you could pull him into big shots and really hurt him. He's been dropped. He's a tough guy, though, but I think that Billy is levels above skill-wise on the feet. He just can't get backed up and get in a brawl with this really big, freaking super tall, powerful guy. And Christian is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and so he'll give up the takedown super easy. And if you don't get submitted, he's going to lose, but he's been able to catch guys with triangles, and when people fatigue, you'll throw the submission up and get him out of there. So he's an opportunistic submission guy from bottom, but getting guard subs at the UFC level, I think, is going to be a lot harder. And Billy Elakina, I mean, I think he should win this fight. He's better everywhere, but he's just fighting a dangerous guy, so it's a tough one to call because I don't really have a ton of trust in Billy overall as a fighter. I don't think he's the greatest, but I think he should be able to beat Kevin Christian. So Billy Elakina is going to be my prediction here. And moving on, we got Cody Durden versus Alon Nascimento kicking off the main card. Durden stepping up on short notice, coming back really quickly, probably a little too quickly after the Ochoa knockout loss. And Durden just hasn't had a lot of luck recently. He's been facing really high-level competition. He's been putting himself in bad kind of positions. Even like this fight, another short notice fight, but jumping in on short notice against high-level guys, and just the gambles haven't paid off every time for him. But I think he has a winnable fight here. I feel like the line is a little wide with him versus Alon Nascimento. Nascimento been really inactive. He did come back this year. He got the win over Jafel Filo, but that was a really weird fight where there was no real damage done by either guy, like no striking. Filo was able to go out there, pressure, get the takedowns. He dominated the first round. Second round, he got the back, but Nascimento was able to shake him off, get on top, and heavy top pressure. He won the round. And third round, exact same thing happened. Filo took him down, got the back, got shook off. Nascimento got on top, held him down, won the round, and got the victory. So in this fight, Durden has to be really careful if he gets a takedown not to lose position, because Nascimento is super heavy on top, and he's just willing to hold you down and not give you the space to get back up and win a decision. So he'll make it boring and get the victory over Durden if he has to. And then if he does get in a dominant position, we have seen Durden submitted on a couple occasions. But I feel like on the feet, Alon, he has good calf kicks and okay counters with the hands, but it doesn't seem like he has a lot of power in his hands. and he's not very fast or dynamic. I think that Durden is the way better striker. Even though Durden is reckless, he has a bad chin at this point, he's still pretty dynamic on the feet. He hits hard for the weight division. He bounces in and out really well. He's fast. He throws nice straight punches. Good job of using his level change feints to set up his hands, coming over the top of big overhands, big uppercuts, and he's throwing heat, and he's a very powerful guy. If you hurt him, he'll sit down and brawl with you. We saw him get rocked by Ochoa and then rock him back in the first rounds. But he's been getting rocked and finished recently. He'll either get club and subbed or he'll get knocked out. And with Nascimento, though, I just don't think that danger factor is really there on the feet. I feel like Durden can boss the fight in the stand-up. The calf kicks could potentially be effective for Nascimento, but I feel like Durden overall should have better striking. And wrestling-wise, Durden could take this guy down at will if he really wants to. It's just, if he takes him down, he has to be very wary because Nascimento is a very active guard, and if he does get swept, then he's going to be in a lot of danger there. So ultimately, I mean, I feel like Durden has a clear path to victory here with the striking and being able to get takedowns. And if he just doesn't get submitted or give up a large period of top control time, I think he's going to win the fight. I mean, I get the trepidation with his chin potentially just because he's coming back so quickly, but Nascimento's, I don't think, going to knock him out. I mean, he's not really someone that has that threat. And I mean, maybe he'll be able to submit him, but I think he's not going to be able to take him down. I think Durden can easily win the wrestling exchanges, get on top. And when he's on top, I think there's going to be a lot less chance of sweeps or submissions. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the upset here. I'm going to go with Cody Durden and hope the veteran is in good enough shape to pull through and get this big-time W here. But next fight here on the card, we got Charles Radke taking on Daniel Frunza. And another really fun fight here. Two guys that are power hitters. They're fun to watch. You look at Frunza, the guy, his last fight had a long win streak snapped where he came in with a lot of confidence against Reese McKee for his UFC debut. But Reese McKee kind of taught him a lesson and beat him up, knocked him out in the first rounds. But I guess he didn't knock him out. He rocked him a few times and the ref stopped the fight because of his eye or the doctor, but he was getting beat up pretty badly in that one. And then he did have some shots of his own, but Reese McKee was hurting him on multiple occasions. And I feel like Radke with that left hook is going to be very dangerous early. And you look at Frunza, he's been knocked out twice in round one. He wants to go out there and get in your face, get in a brawl, get in the pocket. And I just don't think that's the best game plan with Charles Radke. Radke is someone where if you're longer than him, if you could pull him into strikes, you could hurt him. But I don't think Frunza's going to do that. I think Frunza's going to stick in the pocket with Radke and get blasted. And I got Radke first shot knockout over Daniel Frunza there. And next fight we got on the card, Isaac Dolgarian and Yadier Del Valle. Dolgarian coming back after a decent layoff here. We'll see if he's, rounded out his game at all and gotten any striking, any ground and pound improvements. But taking on a big, dangerous guy in Del Valle. So this is going to be a good test for him to see if he's a true 145er. But I mean, I think it's a good matchup as well. Del Valle's kind of a guy that powerful. He'll come forward. He'll throw nice kicks. He'll throw big punches, but very square stance. I feel like he's going to give the takedowns pretty easily. And Dolgarian, one of the best wrestlers in the weight class. He has good ground and pound, active ground and pounds. Del Valle also will give takedowns going for guillotines, and he's not going to guillotine Dolgarian, I don't think. So I just think it's a bad matchup for Yadier. I mean, Dolgarian I don't think he has a loss. That fight that he did lose to Rodriguez, that was a robbery. But, I mean, in this fight, he has to be careful on the feet not to run into any big power from Del Valle. But I think he should get takedowns, have a lot of control, beat Del Valle up, and dominate this fight. So, I got Dogarian coming back and getting a big-time victory in his return. But Themba Gorimbo and Jeremiah Wells, another fight where someone is coming back off a layoff, and that is Jeremiah Wells here. And I think it's hard to be confident on either one of these guys. I mean, Themba Gorimbo, his last fight, Vicente Luque, what was that? I mean, he got submitted in like 50 seconds. He said he had an injury, but I mean, I don't think that really mattered as far as the way the fight played out. And Jeremiah Wells, 39 years old, 2 losses in a row, layoff, so his momentum is really like dead right now. But I mean, looking at it from a matchup perspective, I could see this fight being super boring because Themba Gorimbo, he's dangerous early. He is long. He throws nice 1-2s, good kicks, technical, sharp guy. He'll mix in the takedowns, but he's always waiting for you so he can counter. And you look at Jeremiah Wells, this guy's someone where his style is fun to watch because it's just wild, but a lot of the time he's running away. Like, he's way out of range, circling, and he's like waiting for you to get frustrated so he could explode and land a big power shot, big hook, big overhand, and either knock you out or land it, level change under it, put you on your back, and then just hold you down for the rest of the round, use his strength. And, you know, Themba, he's going to be trying to counter those entries from Wells, but there's going to be a lot of lulls and inactivity in between that. So unless Wells gets this early knockout or Themba can catch him with something early, it's going to be a really boring fight, I feel like. And I think there's going to be a lot of periods of inactivity. But I do feel like both these guys, their best trait is the wrestling. And I think that Jeremiah Wells probably can out-wrestle him as long as he doesn't just get in the clinch. In the clinch is where Themba could use his length and maybe get some trips or things like that. But with wrestling on the legs, I think Wells is a lot better. And then Wells probably has the better grappling. Conditioning-wise, I feel like Wells is slightly better, but both guys are kind of gassers. So, kind of a crapshoot fight. I wouldn't have any money on this one, honestly. I feel like both these guys are not that trustworthy. But I'm going to go with the older man. I'm going to go with Jeremiah Wells to come back and get the victory. And this next fight, this is an interesting one, man. I mean, it seems like you look at Ante Delija, he's like the new flavor of the week for everyone currently at the moment. He came in, got the big-time victory over Marcin Tybura with the early knockout, and now it seems like everyone is predicting him to get this win here. He was the underdog, but now he's the slight favorite. And taking on Walter Cortez Acosta, who just had his winning streak snapped by Sergey Pavlovich. He had won a lot of fights in a row prior to that, but now it's time for him to get some momentum back. And style-wise, it's going to be a stand-up fight. And if it goes long, probably there will be some periods of clinching against the cage, but early on, these guys are going to stand and bang. And both are boxers, but they have different styles. Delija, he wants to cut the cage off, pressure. He wants to put fast jab straights on you. He has great hand speed, good combinations. For Cortez Acosta, he's going to have to either go forward or use footwork to not end up on the fence. One thing with Delija is he hasn't been out of round one in a while, and he has been really pressuring guys, putting them on the cage and unloading. And I don't know if that's the smartest game plan here because Cortez Acosta is known for his gas tank, and he's never been finished. So if Delija comes out really hard early, that could be a bad game plan. But I think this is ultimately going to be a fight based upon who can control the range. For Cortez Acosta, he's going to need to use footwork, his jab, blitz at the correct times, try not to engage in the pocket. Delija is going to be looking to exchange all day inside. And if he can't, I think he's going to look to clinch. Because Cortez Acosta has the better feet in this fight. Like, he should be able to move around Delija, and unless Delija can back him up and land some big punches, I think it's going to be difficult for him to throw too much. So that's why I think he's going to have to clinch a lot to win a decision. And Cortez Acosta has fought some extremely dangerous fighters. I mean, he fought Sergey Pavlovich, he fought Robelis de Spain, and he's not been knocked out in any of those fights. So I feel like if he can avoid getting, beat up in the first 7-8 minutes really badly in this fight or finished, I think he could start to take more risks after that. And I get why everyone's high on Delija, but I'm going to roll with Cortez Acosta. I know the guy makes fights boring. He isn't really a fan favorite, but I trust his chin more. I think he's going to fight smart, and I don't see him getting stationary, sitting in the pocket. I think he's going to be faster at range. I think he'll be able to land first, and it's going to be a close fight, but I'm going to say Cortez Acosta wins via decision in this one and pulls the upset on Delija there. And the next fight that we got on the card, we got the main event here with David Onama and Steve Garcia. Sick fight, man. I'm a big fan of this fight. Onama, the guy's 6-2 in the UFC. He hasn't lost since 2022. Steve Garcia, 6-fight win streak. He had his 5-fight knockout streak snapped by Calvin Kattar, but he still won via decision in July. And he also hasn't lost since 2022. 7-2 in the UFC. So both these guys, I think, are dark horses, and whoever wins is going to be undeniable for a top 5 fight next. But Steve Garcia, I mean, this guy's a freak of nature. He's able to enter fights with zero fear, fights like a madman. He's a certified strength and conditioning coach. He trains at elevation. So even though he has a ton of knockouts, it's because he believes in his cardio. So he can go all out from the opening bell. He'll walk forward. He'll put guys against the cage, and he just looks to explode with big left hand, switch stance attacks. If he can connect clean, he can put you out cold. He throws everything full power. He's good at changing the way he throws his left hand. He'll throw it straight, he'll loop it, he'll throw to the body, he'll throw uppercuts. His last fight with Calvin Kattar, he showed more tactics. He was able to use his reach to land a lot of kicks. His jab, straight very kick heavy. And a lot of low kicks, teeps. His head movement looked better. He was able to slip a lot of shots from Kattar. And if you don't put Garcia out, he's just going to stay in the pocket, try to return with his own power. He's a dog. And Calvin Kattar just was too slow in that fight. Garcia is really good at striking hard in every area as well. If he gets you against the cage, he's going to throw big power, good at landing elbows. He has crazy ground and pound, good at landing off clinch breaks. He's pretty durable as well. He did get caught mid-stance switch by Mai Shata, but the distance was off and he kind of just was out of position, didn't see the punch coming. And outside of that, nobody else has knocked out Steve Garcia. If you do have a good counter right hand, you can catch him because he did get dropped as well by Nerdy and Becky. But unless you could put him out, he's going to be difficult to stop or to get him to quit. He's not really someone that you're going to have to, or you're going to be able to TKO. You're going to have to put him out cold, I feel like, because he's just super tough. He will dip his head as well, so I'm a little worried about that knee from Onama or an uppercut. But Garcia has elite power in his own right, so a lot of fighters are scared to kind of strike with him. And his wrestling is decent, but he does get wild and give up easy takedowns, and I'm a little worried about him giving up the back here in this fight. But he hasn't been submitted in a long time. He's only been submitted once. And if he gets taken down, he'll probably be able to just throw that round away and come back hard on the next one. But you look at his career, he's only 4-5 in fights where he doesn't get the knockout. So even though he's 4-3 in decisions, that's not bad. When he doesn't get the KO, it's kind of like 50-50 whether he's going to win. And for Onama, sharper technical striker, great movement. He could seamlessly stand switch, very composed, loose. He tends to start slow. He'll eat low kicks. And if you're aggressive and just throwing, you can't get ahead on the numbers. It takes Onama a bit to get his reads, but he stays sharp. He tries to work the jab, land some counters. And when opponents slow down, he'll pick it up. But he has been hurt a lot early in fights. And when he gets hit, sometimes he can freeze up. And he can recover. I mean, he's never been finished. He's super tough. But you can hurt him. And when Steve Garcia hurts someone, he really is very good at finishing. So Onama has to be sharp and on point early. But Onama himself, when he finds the range, nasty combination, super fast, super accurate, picks his shots well, good 1-2s, uppercuts, really nasty hooks in the pocket. And we've seen Onama fight a lot of pressure fighters, kind of start off bad early, but when they slow down, you touch them up and get the job done. But it has taken fighters getting tired for Onama to finish them. And with Garcia, he's not going to slow down. So that's a big element in this fight, I feel like. But Onama, I mean, people kind of gave him that gasser tag, but I think that's a fake narrative. He wins most of his fights because of his conditioning and sharp striking. He did gas versus Landwehr, but that was just a crazy fight, crazy moment. And I don't think it's necessarily indicative of his overall conditioning. But David Onama, his last fight, he fought a really motivated Giga, and he did mix in takedowns to get the win. He was able to time double legs. He was able to get the back in the third rounds. So I feel like if he gets on top here, he could maybe backpack and bank a round or two. So that could be a game plan for him. But he has to be very careful to not end up on his back, because if he does, Garcia is a potent finisher from the top position. And I honestly think this fight is either going to be Garcia getting the stoppage in round 1, or it could have gone longer than people think, and maybe even the distance. Because Onama definitely could catch Steve with a big combo and knock him out too. But like I said, Onama usually finishes guys who gas out, and Steve is not going to get tired. Steve is going to be pressuring. He's going to be more active. So I think Onama will try to wrestle to lower the pressure and volume that Garcia brings and kind of nullify him. And if Garcia makes a mistake and tries to get up and gives his back, I mean, maybe it could be a couple rounds to Onama that way, like I said. But I like Garcia to win as long as he stays off his back, avoids getting put out with one big shot. I think his chances of getting an early knockout, if he does win, is like 50-50. But he could also win over 25 minutes as well, just in volume and pressure. We saw that with the Calvin Kattar fight. So I'm going to actually say Garcia wins via decision here, which is a pick I doubt many people have. But I think Onama could survive early. He's never been finished. And I just feel like Garcia is going to be throwing more volume. He's not going to get tired. He's going to be able to avoid being on his back probably for 3 or at least 4 rounds of the fight. And on the feet, I just think he'll be a little more active. I think he'll have the bigger moments. He'll probably rock Onama a couple times. And Onama will get his licks in too. But I think Garcia will just be a little bit more potent. And so I'm going to lean with Steve Garcia in the main event, the slight favorite to get this 7-fight win streak and hopefully break into the top tier of the division. So there you have it, guys. It's a full card breakdown and predictions video for UFC Vegas 110. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something from this video. As far as my most confident pick of the week for this card, I guess I would say my most confident pick would probably be Dante Johnson. And for the parlay of the week, I would say Dante Johnson and Talita Alencar. So that's what I like for the parlay of the week. For another play I do like is I think Cody Durden is one of the best value plays on the card. There's not that many dogs on this card that I think are viable, and I think that Durden is one of those guys. Another dog is Phil Rowe. You know, he's won as an underdog several times in the UFC. Phil Rowe knockout as well. All his wins have been by KO. And I think Radke round 1 knockout is a good play. Maybe a little Cortez Acosta decision, Garcia decision. Parlay that together. That would be some major money if that cashes. So, yeah, guys. Hopefully we get a good fight card on November 1st. Happy Halloween, everyone, tomorrow. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like I said, hit the like button. And thanks for watching.